My husband said I should stop wasting money on my sick dog. When he fell ill, I told him, now you know how it feels to be disposable. The silence in the car was heavier than any sound I had ever known. It was a thick, suffocating blanket woven from grief and the lingering scent of antiseptic from the vet's office. Beside me, in the passenger seat, Leo stared out the window, his jaw tight, his posture rigid. He hadn't said a word since I'd walked out of that little room, my face a mess of tears and my arms aching with an emptiness that felt physical, a phantom weight where my best friend Max should have been. For 12 years, Max had been my shadow, my confidant, my furry, slobbery, unconditionally loving anchor in the choppy waters of my life. Now, he was just a memory, and a bill for euthanasia that Leo had paid with a sigh of theatrical impatience. I drove, my knuckles white on the steering wheel, each turn of the tires on the asphalt a fresh scrape against my raw nerves. I wanted him to say something, anything. I wanted him to reach over and put his hand on my arm. I wanted him to say he was sorry for my loss, that Max was a good boy, that he would miss him too. He did none of those things. When we finally pulled into our driveway, he broke the silence, not with comfort, but with a cold, hard pronouncement that shattered the last fragile piece of my heart. Well, that's that, he said, unbuckling his seatbelt with a decisive click. Finally, now we can stop wasting money on that animal. The words hung in the air, sharp and cruel as shards of glass. I couldn't breathe. I turned to look at him, my vision blurred by a fresh surge of tears. Wasting money. That's what Max's life had been to him. 12 years of loyalty, of wet-nosed greetings at the door, of a warm body at the foot of the bed on cold nights. All of it, in the end, reduced to a line item on a budget he found inconvenient. The final months had been hard. I knew that. Max's kidneys were failing. There were special diets, expensive medications, weekly subcutaneous fluid injections I learned to administer myself, my hands shaking as I pierced his skin, whispering apologies and promises. To me, it was an act of love, a sacred duty. To my husband, it was a waste. A strange, cold clarity cut through my grief. It was a feeling I'd had before, fleetingly, over the years of our marriage. A sudden, stark realization that the man I had promised my life to was a stranger. But this time, it was different. It wasn't fleeting. It was a tectonic shift, the ground beneath my feet cracking open to reveal a chasm I could no longer ignore. He saw the shift in my expression, the way my sorrow was hardening into something else. He misinterpreted it as weakness, as the beginning of a hysterical breakdown he could manage and dismiss. Clara, don't start, he warned, his voice laced with that familiar, patronizing tone. It was a dog, an old, sick dog. This is practical. We can finally start saving for a real vacation. Maybe fix the deck. This is a good thing financially. That's when I remembered. My phone. It was nestled in the cup holder, its screen dark. An hour earlier, sitting in the vet's waiting room while Max was in the back having his catheter placed, I had felt a knot of dread. I knew Leo's patience was worn thin. I knew he would say something dismissive, something that would cut me when I was at my most vulnerable. I'd had this vague idea that I would record him, just to have proof of his coldness, something to play for a marriage counselor later to show her what I was dealing with. A desperate, pathetic little attempt to be validated. So, I had pressed the record button on the voice memo app and let it run. I had completely forgotten about it in the haze of saying goodbye to Max, but now, it was still recording. It was capturing every heartless, pragmatic word falling from my husband's lips, a hidden advantage, an unseen observer in the theater of my life's greatest tragedy. I didn't let my eyes flicker towards it. I kept my gaze locked on his. A waste? I whispered, my voice trembling not with sadness anymore, but with a nascent rage that was starting to burn away the fog. He was my family, Leo. He scoffed, a short, ugly sound. Oh, please, don't be so dramatic. He was a dependent, an expense, a very, very expensive one. I've been looking at the statements. Thousands. We've spent thousands over the last—
Full story on channel link below.